Hey guys, what's going on? So this is an equipment video update, a up-to-date current equipment video that doesn't currently exist on my channel apparently, and I thought that it did, and it definitely doesn't. I thought that I would have gone back to and revisited equipment, and somebody asked me on stream about equipment and how I would build it, and I was like, oh, I just directed them to this video, and then I looked at the video, and I was like, whoa, I did that a long time ago, maybe I should update this, and then Bristix Official, posted a video of, him completely dismantling all of his equipment and how not to do that, and that encouraged me even more to do my equipment video, because I was going to do it anyway, and then, thank you, Bristix Official, for reminding me that I should probably do this video. So essentially, equipment breaks down like this. The best weapon is spear. There are caveats to that, but for the most part, the best weapon is spear. Being able to attack faster, you will, 1, deal more damage, which is what sword does, and 2, you will have a higher chance to crit, which is what the bow does. And if you are able to kill things, you get more mana, which is what the staff does. So essentially, that is why generically, the spear is the best thing. If you can attack faster, you will deal more damage, which means you will crit faster, which means you will kill more things. And the other things are very specific decks. And so things like, for example, the Cultist, which if you have the 15 ability, it's very specifically crit based. When attacking, the Harbinger creates a pulse of fire that lasts 2 seconds. The pulse deals 100% of cultist damage value. The 100% is the reason why cultist does so much damage when you get the 15, is because the cultist damage value, every 0.2 seconds, is the total potential damage value. So it takes the potential greatest amount of damage that it could do and takes that number. When you use the crit bow, it obviously increases your cultist crit, the crit percentage, and then it'll take that value. So that's why you would want the crit bow specifically for that deck. Banshee is another one. Banshee is not affected by attack speed, so that doesn't matter in that deck. The Genie deck, it's very specifically an I have to keep summoning in deck, so there's actually a bunch of different Genie decks. This happened to me on stream too. I stated that I'm pretty sure most Genie decks takes staff, because you have to keep summoning in. And then I looked at a bunch of different Genie decks, and there was one Genie deck with a staff, there was one Genie deck with a sword, to increase the base damage, there was one Genie deck with a spear, for the normal reason, and so that one is a lot in the air as well. But generically speaking, the spear is the best option, certainly for decks like an Inquisitor, where attack speed is, where you need the attack speed. That is going to be much worse if you have a sword or a crit bow. And for the most part, a lot of decks don't really use staff. I think maybe toxic decks use staff. That could be a potential possibility, because I can't imagine them using a spear. I think that them getting more mana is more important. But generically speaking, that's how that works. There used to be a very big push for Mage Robe as the best armor, and they nerfed it to where it's kind of a coin toss now. The things that I've been commonly seeing is Mage Robe, Hunter's Jacket, or the Chainmail, actually, which is why I've actually saved this Chainmail. Being able to make the damage against the other player bosses less, bosses and mini-bosses, so that your opponent does less boss and mini-boss damage. This has actually seen a resurgence, making your opponent deal more damage to bosses that will kill them, because bosses will kill you, seems pretty good. I, for the most part, because Hunter's Jacket was the meta for a very long time. It was just, everybody was just running Hunter's Jacket. And then when when everybody realized that Mage Robe was so overly powered good, everybody switched to Mage Robe. So those are the two things that I built. And I've just been very hardcore building Hunter's Jacket and Mage Robe. And then Chainmail is kind of a thing now. I've never seen Plate Mail, which is the Knight Armor. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's that important. I'm just keeping it just because, just to have it, basically. And then the only amulet basically to ever run is Amulet of Growth. The difference in damage between a magic amulet and an Amulet of Growth is insanity. Do not run a magic amulet. Run an Amulet of Growth and learn how to use it. The potential possibility for me, or the potential damage that I can get out of a level 17 Amulet of Growth right now is 57%. I believe the 2 damage modifiers are additive. So if you have the Alliance of All Kingdoms is 57%. And then if you also have Forest Alliance, Techno, or Dark Domain, that adds yet another 57%. And that's how the 2 damage values work. The Alliance of All Kingdoms for my speed is 23%, but if you also have a Forest faction, it is also another 23%. It's 40%. I believe that is how the damage values work. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments, and I will pin your comment. But I believe that is how the percentages work. So you're getting 40%, not 23%, if you have both things. The difference between a magic amulet and an Amulet of Growth. So my magic amulet is admittedly much less. It is a 6%. This is at 21% right now, and I'm getting 0.5% per level up. With my Amulet of Growth, it is at a 57% at level 17, and I'm getting plus 1% every level up. That difference is insane. It is much more difficult, obviously, to build up an Amulet of Growth, and you're obviously only getting it on the 4 tiles, but most decks build around those 4 tiles, and they just want those 4 units to be the best that they can. That is why Gadget isn't really necessarily a hero that most people use. I use it because I love it. But that is a specific reason why more people would switch to J. They would switch to specific tiles. They would use Necro tiles. They would use Zeus tiles. The game has transitioned to just utilizing the least amount of units that are damage units, so that you can maximize your Amulet of Growth position. That's why a witch with a level 13 witch with the Circle of Curses is so good, because if it hits that tile, you're giving them 3 tiles instead of 4, and Amulet of Growth is just generically speaking the best amulet. The Amulet of Weakness is the only other amulet that I would say to build, and that is if you were specifically ever thinking about a toxic deck. Amulet of Weakness giving them a attack speed down tile is very strong. And that's the only other time that I would see somebody using it, specifically in a toxic deck. And then the actual thing that I really wanted to talk about is how I'm specifically building my enchantments and what I care about and what I've been doing for a very long time. I've been working at this. I've been tweaking it, but I've finally solidified in a plan. And if I give you this plan now, you will make smart decisions in your journey. So this is my plan. For the longest time, I was trying to build a Forest faction set. The only thing that I could re-roll Forest faction on was my crit bow. For the longest time, I could not get, for the life of me, get a epic spear that was main faction Forest faction. What I mean by that is when you go from rare to epic, it will take, so for instance, if I upgrade this to Epic, it will take Dark Domain and put that into the next thing. But what has the potential to happen is you could get Dark Domain as your main faction. The set bonus is 0 out of 3. But if they when they add something, so for instance, this one added Technogenic, it will still have Dark Domain, but you could have the main set bonus of the thing that they add. So it could have been a Technogenic set bonus, but it still has Dark Domain. So you can guarantee what the next thing will have, but you cannot guarantee the set bonus. So what I kept doing was I kept trying to build up rare spears that were Forest Faction, because obviously when you do that, you will get Forest Faction in your Epic. But what happened to me time and time again was it would take the added thing and make that the set bonus, which is how I ended up getting this Technogenic Spear that happens to also be Forest Faction. I was trying to get the when you have all the sets, the set for everything, you get a 10% boost. And that is reflected here. This is taking my growth tile, because that's the best part of this. When you have the 10% boost, my Forest Faction here is now 62% as opposed to the 57% without the boost. If I slot in my spear here, now I have this set 1 of 3. You lose the 10% boost. That drops back down to 57. That's not an incredible difference. And there is the 10% is a difference, but it's not a difference enough to warrant you not running the best equipment. So yes, I could run this crit bow in order to gain all of these different bonuses. So and to get the what is this, 57, 5% difference. To get the 5% difference on my Forest Alliance on an Amulet of Growth, to get this difference on my Hunter's Jacket, it's not a significant enough difference to warrant you using a subpar equipment. I suppose if your subpar equipment was the armor, if like this happened to be like a bad thing, you happen to reroll this, I guess that would be fine. And if you were using an armor that you didn't necessarily care about, but it was on faction. But if you're choosing to run something like a crit bow when you know that you should be running a spear, just run the spear. The spear is just better for your deck, as opposed to running subpar equipment. I would rather not have the 5%, because the 5% is honestly, you're not even going to notice it. And I would rather run the 5% less, and run like good equipment. You are still getting a bonus because I still ran Forest Faction. I was building a Blade Dancer deck, and now I've switched to a Spirit Master deck, and it's on faction. Being on faction is the most important thing that you can possibly do. And that is the second thing that I want to get into, that will help you in your journey from right now until 5 years from now. This is what I'm doing with my equipment. When I started, I wanted to be a Forest Faction main person. So what I was doing was I was concentrating all the best equipment onto Forest Faction. I have a main Forest Faction amulet, Forest Faction Hunter's Jacket. I have this sub-faction spear. I have a Forest Faction magic sword. I have a Forest Faction Amulet of Weakness. I have a Forest Faction Hunter's Jacket and a Mage Robe. I have a Forest Faction Staff and a Forest Faction Magic Amulet. I was going so hard into Forest Faction. Since then, since I chose to do this, I then started to realize, like, what is my next goal? And just let me tell you, the upgrade process to go from to upgrade your legendary, you need so many equipment shards. Right now, I currently need 3,400 equipment shards, like weapon shards specifically, to go from a 17 to an 18. And you have to do this for all of your equipment. You need so many shards. It takes so long to upgrade things. This is the information that I'm going to give you that will help you in your journey. What I'm now currently trying to do is get even if it is a sub-faction, I am trying to get the best equipment, which for my money is Spear, Amulet of Growth, and either Hunter's Jacket or Mage Robe, because I've already focused on those three to begin with. I'm trying to get all three of those to every single faction, even if it is a sub-faction. What I mean by that is this Hunter's Jacket currently has Forest Faction, Light Faction, Magic Council. So the two that I need are Dark and Techno. I happened to get super lucky, and I actually had a Dark rare item that was a Hunter's Jacket, and when I upgraded it, it gave me Techno. Insane. Absolute insanity. I had a second chance that when it goes from Epic to Legendary, you would have a second chance to get another, to get Techno. That was a second chance for me to get Techno, but the fact that I already got it now means that I will never have to re-roll a Hunter's Jacket. And I'll tell you the reason why I'm trying to do this. I am trying to get counter spells on every single one of my equipments. So I already have a counterspell. Counterspell is the best enchantment. I will go into that next. Counterspell is the best enchantment. There are two separate versions of Counterspell. Obviously, Gold Counterspell is much better, but it is also much harder to obtain. That is my far in the future. Like, that's my 10-year plan. But for the most part, I'm trying to get counterspells for every single faction so that I can run any deck with triple counterspell. Even if you try to run Mermaid, you want triple counterspell. There are so many things that you need to counterspell in this game, and that is one of the main things that will kill you. So if I can get a counterspell for an armor on Forest, Light, and a Magic, and then do it for Dark and Techno, anytime I run any of those decks, I know that I will have a counterspell. Which means that for this, I'm trying to go, it's Techno, Forest, and then Dark, which means I need Light and Magic, which is why I have been building this spear. I'm going to be building this spear. So this is Light, and this one is Magic. I'm not going to use this to combine into this, because if this one fails, I now have a backup Magic Council that I can then build up. So at most, you will have three separate ones. So for instance, if I upgrade this and it goes to Epic and it goes Light and Forest, and then when I upgrade it again, it goes Light, Forest, Dark Domain. I already have all of that, so then at most I would then have to build up a Magic one and go from Magic to whatever, because at that point then I would have one of each. I think that it is incredibly important to at least have one of each faction, because then that gives you all of the options. And at most it would take 3 separate times. If you got super unlucky, and that is what ended up happening. And then for my Amulet of Growth, I have Forest, Techno, and Dark. Forest, Techno, and Dark, which means I also, again, need Light and Magic. I don't even have an Amulet of Growth waiting. It's just this one, and I'm just waiting to get Magic Amulets, or Amulet of Growths. But that is my current plan for all of my equipment. And this is the last thing that I want to talk about. When you upgrade, you can enchant low or rare items. When you go into Forge, you can actually enchant rare items. If you enchant a rare item, and you know that you care about this faction, you can automatically unlock this faction. If you wait to unlock during Epic, you will now be unlocking one of the two factions and then have to spend more to unlock the other one. If you were to wait till Legendary, it would not only cost you an initial cost, but you have a chance of getting one of three, then have to re-roll for the second one, then have to re-roll for the third one. When you have a legendary enchantment, to add the third enchantment, if it gets to that point, you should probably unlock all of the enchantments because you will use them, or unlock all of the factions because you will use them. But if you wait and the one that you unlock is the one that you cared about the most because that is your deck, it will take you 1,200 essence. For context, 50 gems is 100 essence in Dragon Rift, if you just wanted to straight up buy it. And you can only do that 3 times every single Dragon Rift. 1,200 essence is a lot of essence. It takes a lot of Dragon Rifts to get that, especially if you're going to try to free to play. I mean, like, gems are kind of free to play, but I mean, if you're just, using the regular free pass to get essence, it takes forever. And so it will take you 1,200 essence just to unlock the third talent. You will eventually want to do that anyway, but what I'm saying is, let's say you were trying to build this Magic Council, this light faction. You know that you need light faction. You know that when you upgrade this to Epic, light faction will still be there. If you care about this because you are trying to build an Inquisitor deck, just enchant it now, because it is the easiest thing that you could possibly do. I'm actually going to do that and show you how to do this as well. So it will only cost 100, and you will unlock light faction on your spear. The way that you do this is you have to play this mini game that I would like to say pretty good at, and watch me fail. And what you do is you try to go from where it ends, not where it starts. And that tends to be easier. So right here is the thing that you need to connect. Start from here. Because if you start from here, it should be much easier. Maybe. There we go. Because if you know that that is where it has to connect, then you know that if you go from there and try to connect it to everything else, then it'll work. I don't know why, but it just tends to be easier. None of these are good, so I think I'm just going to take Enchant Monster 2, and eventually I'm going to change it. But that is how you unlock enchantments, and now, when I eventually upgrade this, light faction, because that is the important faction of this, of what I'm trying to do. I need a light faction and a Magic Council, but I will keep light faction. Now, light faction will already be unlocked. If you wait to unlock it later, this will cost 800. Let's say you waited and you did the Kingdom of Light on here, but you really wanted Forest faction, but you waited like how I'm gonna do right here, and you waited, it will now cost you 800 to unlock the other one. And then if you wait even further, it gets even worse at Legendary. But here I'm going to unlock the Hunter's Jacket, and I'm doing this for a specific reason as well. So I'm gonna do this Hunter's Jacket here, because eventually I will need both. This is insane. But like I said, just go from the ends where you know that they need to connect, and it should be easier. So that, there we go. Yeah. I already connected the two on the right, so I knew that I didn't need to connect it in the center, and so I just looked for the second path that it could be, and I went down. I don't care about either of these. I guess I'll take this Pocket Exhaustion. And I'm doing this to showcase a different thing. I want to talk about enchantments, and there's only one currently in the game that is important, and that's Counterspell and Counterspell 2. Everything else is pretty much useless. You can make arguments for other things. They are wrong. You are factually wrong. Counterspell and Counterspell 2 are the best things. As a second, I could say that Abundance is pretty good. I think that if you have triple Abundance, I think that's pretty good. Plus 20%, or plus 60% on damage for all of your units above a level 5 that grows, if you have them at 6 or 7, I think that that's pretty good. But in all honesty, I would choose Counterspell 2, or then Counterspell 1, then Abundance. And then everything else is just bad. Pocket Curse used to be good, but now that it targets randomly, and 2, it has a less of a chance to even happen, made it much worse. If you decide to change a rare item, and you want to add a legendary counterspell, if you decide to re-roll, because you can re-roll all the time, if you decide to re-roll a rare item so that you can get a legendary counterspell, you have a 0.13% chance of getting it. But if you wait to re-roll your epic item, you have a 0.5% chance of re-rolling a counterspell. But if you wait to get a legendary re-roll, you have a 2.5% chance of getting a counterspell too. They're not good odds, because you're never going to get good odds, but I do think that 2.5% is a little better than 0.13% chance. If you are going to re-roll enchantments, wait until they're legendary, because you have the highest chance of getting a legendary enchantment. All of the other enchantments, like I said, are not great. I think Morally Gray is fine. I would take Abundance over both of those. I think that my tier list of enchantments is Counterspell 2, Counterspell 1, Abundance, maybe Morally Gray. I've seen a lot of people use Generosity, and then maybe Pocket Curse, and then everything else. I think everything else is after that. In no particular order, then just everything else. That is my order of enchantments. But I would wait until you get to Legendary in order to reroll enchantments, because it's the best chance of bad chances that you can have. But yeah, that is all of my thoughts on equipment. I currently I normally just save my rares. Everything that's rare, I normally save. This Mage Robe and this Growth Tile, I don't know. I think there's a specific, or the Growth Tile. I think I'm going to dismantle this now, because I only tend to save rares and above, rare and above equipment. I just don't necessarily care about all of these lesser ones to add them up to become a rare. I'd rather just eventually get a rare that is an Amulet of Growth and build that up, as opposed to building up a common and having to have 2 commons. I'd rather just build up a rare. I feel like it's just easier. So I'm actually going to disassemble all 3 of these. And then beyond all of that information, build up your main things. Right now, I could split my attention into building up this spear, but why if I don't even have a legendary back spear? max out your main things first before you build up other things. That's my only other bit of information. But hopefully this helped. This is now my definitive guide for how I am building my equipment, and hopefully this saves you large quantities of years of making mistakes. Thank you guys for watching.